Welcome back, Defenders. Jake here. We're going to start with some bad news first. Putin signs decree increasing the number of military personnel and staff to 2.38 million. How big of an increase will this be? And Putin is set to enlarge his military by 180,000 soldiers. So the first question people have is, how is this possible? Where is Putin going to find an additional 180,000 Russian men willing to sign a contract? And of course, the answer is he can't. He's going to have to rely more on conscription, as well as doing another round of mass mobilization. That's the only way this is possible. Putin is going to have to pull back into the military hundreds of thousands of Russian men who for the last 2.5 years have declined to sign a contract. The opportunity has been there, the money has been there, and hundreds of thousands of veterans have chosen not to go back into the military. But Putin's not going to give them a choice. So the next question I have for you is, does this look like the actions of a man who wants peace? A man trying to get a peace deal or de-escalate? The only reason why you enlarge your military 3 years into a war is if you plan on escalating, if you plan on expanding, if you plan on getting these soldiers ready for the next war against Poland, Finland, the Baltics, wherever. So overall, Russia is going to have 1.5 million soldiers on active duty, the rest of them being Russia's equivalent of Guard and Reserve. So this is important. I want to show you the official list. Who has the largest military by active duty service members? And of course, number one is China. Makes sense given the size of China's population. Over 2 million currently serve on active duty. Number two is India, 1.475 million. But with this new decree, Russia's about to jump up to be number two. India will be number three. The United States will now be number four. I hate this list, guys, because these countries, most of them are dictatorships, are working together. Russia, North Korea, Iran is number 8. And as far as democracies on this list, we have Ukraine basically holding them all back on their own as far as fighting on the battlefield. If you're from a democracy around the world, we got South Korea down here at number 9. India's neutral. China is friendly with this military alliance of Russia, North Korea, and Iran. I don't want World War III. Talking about World War III is Russian propaganda. But at the same time, these authoritarian regimes are acting like they expect a broader war. If they all just blitz their neighbors to take their territory at the same time, the United States alone is not going to be able to stop them. We need other democracies and allies around the world to be doing more. So let's get to the battlefield and Ukraine's fight for their survival. Ukraine expands their incursion into Russia with a new thrust into the Kursk Oblast. Last week, in response to Russia's counterattack, Ukraine opened a new axis of advance into Kursk, breaching border defenses and advancing into a village called Vezelo. So here's Vezelo. It's about 5 or 7 kilometers from the Ukrainian border. And the Ukrainians in the Kursk region were waiting for the inevitable Russian counteroffensive. Of course, Russia was going to attempt to retake their territory. Ukraine invaded Kursk about 6 weeks ago. So the Russians have been pushing down from Koronevo, as well as east from Glushkovo, to make a land connection, because all the bridges are blown. Ukraine was waiting for it, and as soon as they started pushing, Ukraine crossed the border, and they've now taken this village of Vezelo, and they're currently heading towards Glushkovo. That's where the fight is now occurring. If Ukraine can take Glushkovo and reach the river, any Russian forces over here, there might be a couple hundred or 1,000 or so, they'll be isolated. And any Russian forces over here, they'll now be surrounded with active combat on all sides. If you want to see a combat video from the village of Vezelo, Once again, this is inside of the Glushkovo district. Ukraine released a video of a Russian military base being blown up. I'm sure the Russians were using this as some kind of barracks or command post, and Ukraine destroyed it with a glide bomb. I'll link the video down below if you want to see the building blow up. So Russia has ordered more evacuations of civilians in the Kursk region amid the ongoing Ukrainian incursion. So what the Russians are doing is they're currently evacuating all their civilians within 15 kilometers of the border, because Ukraine can keep doing this. Anytime the Russians try to maneuver around in their own territory, Ukraine can just cross the border and attack them. Anywhere. Russia now has to take their entire border length with Ukraine seriously. They can't just stick 19-year-old conscripts in the trenches and expect them to fight. I also think Russia wants to pull their civilians out of these regions to stop them from embarrassing the Kremlin. Because in the city of Sudzha, in the occupied territories, there's probably more than 10,000 Russian civilians remaining there. And they're putting out videos. They're talking to their family and friends on Telegram, telling them that the Ukrainian military is not causing them any trouble. They're not torturing them, they're not harassing them, they're not robbing them. All of the propaganda that the Kremlin is putting out, that the Russian civilians in the occupied territory near Sudzha are being bound into slavery, are of course absurd. So this is now a propaganda embarrassment for the Kremlin, and I don't think they want their civilians anywhere near Ukrainian territory, so they can't be corrupted. They can't interact with the Ukrainian military and realize the truth, that Ukraine is not hostile to Russia. Ukraine does not want this war. All Ukraine wants is their own peace and security, and for Russia to stop attacking them. Now when we switch to the other side of the map, deadly shelling in Ukraine's Pokrovsk as Russia inches closer. Recent Russian strikes cut off water and electricity for many in Pokrovsk and damage to overpasses, including one linking to an adjacent town. So the Russians have not gotten closer, but they are evening out the front lines. There's a pocket right here that's been slowly collapsing day by day. The Ukrainians are probably going to fall back to this stream and then try to fortify their defense lines. I also just want to give a shout out to the Ukrainian defenders currently in Vuhledar. The tiny settlement of Vuhledar has been holding for 2 years. Russia has lost hundreds of armored vehicles and maybe tens of thousands of soldiers trying to assault this tiny village. And I do think eventually they're going to take it. Within the coming weeks, I do think Ukraine is probably going to have to pull back from Vuhledar now that the Russians are on the other side of this road. For a report on the ground, this is Miriam. She's in the city of Pokrovsk, and I want to share her report from inside the Ukrainian city.
Hello, this is Miriam. Today it's September 16. We are here in Pokrovsk to deliver medical supplies to the soldiers who are fighting in the front line at the moment. I was here 6 months ago. This Pokrovsk city was full of life, but today, as you see, the Russians are targeting all civilians. It's a completely empty city now after the mandatory evacuation, which is actually good because then we make sure, thanks to the Ukrainian authorities, that the children are not staying here anymore. The children won't be deported, as it's the case. It was the case in different cities like Kupiansk, Zaporizhia region. But still, when you witness the disaster that the Russians create in this city, it's completely ghost city. Everything has been destroyed. They targeted all the houses. It's a very, very sad situation. I have no idea actually what to show you in order to be convinced and to make sure that the Ukrainians get what they need, that the Ukrainians get the authorization to defend themselves. This is what you are witnessing. It's exactly what we allowed the Russians to do. It's to destroy the whole cities of Pokrovsk, of other regions, of Kupiansk. And there will be much more if we just debate and talk and talk and talk about it without doing nothing. So this is today, it's 16th of September. Pokrovsk is completely empty. Pokrovsk is a ghost city, and Pokrovsk could be safe if you act today.
So unfortunately, it's too late for the city of Pokrovsk. Pre-war population, it had about 60,000 people. The Russians are in artillery range, and every day, artillery crews just fire on random houses. The goal is to destroy every single building so that nobody can stay here. There's nowhere for the Ukrainian military to shelter. But it's not too late for these other cities, such as Kramatorsk, such as Sloviansk. If the Russians can get within artillery range of these cities, they'll destroy them all. Russia will kill everyone and destroy everything to take this land. So the fierce debate the last couple of weeks has been the approval of long-range strikes from donated Western weapons. And here's a map that I want to share with you showing the range of storm shadows and why Russia is making such a big deal about this. The Southern Military Command Center in Rostov-on-Don is within storm shadow range. So if Ukraine got the approval or the permission, they could blow up Russia's Southern Military Command building. Yeah, that would make the Russians pretty upset. Additionally, the Kursk Strait Bridge is within range, as well as all of these Russian airfields. So the debate continues in Western capitals. Will the approval come? Let's get to the bad news for Russia. Ambitious Ukrainian kamikaze drone attack hits heavy bomber base deep inside of Russia. This was the headline this morning. We don't have any pictures or videos on the ground. We don't have the satellite images yet. But I do think there is a line of thinking from the United States that they don't want to approve ATACMS because Ukraine is so close to their own domestically produced jet drones, as well as ballistic missiles. The West, the United States, of course, is helping Ukraine develop this technology and mass produce their own long-range weapons and long-range drones. The United States would rather have just Ukraine doing it themselves than officially giving US weapons to strike inside of Russia. I still argue the policy will change after the November election, but for the next 48 days, Ukraine has to do it themselves. Ukraine can keep them. Chechen commander renounces compatriots who chose to surrender to the Ukrainian forces. This is the commander of the Chechen battalion, Aludinov. And this was highly embarrassing for Kadyrov and his Chechen soldiers. So the Chechens have been captured in the past fighting in Donetsk. They're immediately exchanged because Kadyrov wants his soldiers back. But this time is different in that the Chechens who were in Kursk refused to defend the territory of Russia. It's one thing getting captured, trying to film TikToks in Donetsk, but to not even put up a fight when Ukraine invades Russia. This was simply indefensible and too embarrassing for the Chechens. So now their military commander is disowning them, and he has some pretty harsh words for these POWs. Those of you who voluntarily surrendered, how delusional are you when you think that I would ask or do anything to get you out of capture? In reality, I do not respect you at all. I don't think you even deserve life, because I'm surprised at how you're going after you raised your paws and surrendered like girls. How are you going to live? How are you going to look at your relatives, look into your children's eyes? To be honest, even when you're captured, just get up, grab a pen, and nail and attack someone and do everything to get killed, to end your path, as men at least. So this is the Chechen commander, I think, saying that these Chechen POWs in Ukrainian custody will never be exchanged and they should just kill themselves to retain any honor. But I think this video is a show. I think because there's so much outrage amongst civilians in Russia that the conscripts didn't fight and the Chechens didn't fight, he's putting out this video just to subdue the domestic population and their outrage. But within a couple months, I guarantee Kadyrov is going to get these Chechens back. He's not going to film a video. He's not going to make a big deal about it. But yeah, he wants his own soldiers back because they protect him. They're loyal to him. Russia charges 2 more military officers with bribery. This is good news for Ukraine. Actually, it's kind of good news and bad news. If you're corrupt and incompetent, you want those commanders to stay in place. But lucky for Ukraine, everyone in Russia's military is corrupt and incompetent. So Putin continues to make examples, hoping that this will force the Russians to crack down on stealing money during a time of war, but I think the Russians are going to continue acting like Russians. Russia faces economic crisis peak by summer of 2025, says Ukrainian intelligence. So here's a prediction from Budanov, saying that when are we going to reach a culmination, a financial climax that could trigger some kind of crisis inside of Russia? I think it's going to be bad this winter, but Budanov just said summer of 2025. And here's some interesting analysis. Putin's war costs Russia more than $300 million a day. Crunching the numbers with mind-blowing results, a German researcher has assessed Russian open source and secret financial data as Putin's 3-day special military operation enters its 32nd month. So just think about it. If Putin had $300 billion in Russia's wealth reserves, and he's burning through it at, on average, $300 million a day, that's 1,000 days of war. That's coming up this November. Now, the Russians were getting an excellent price for their oil and gas exports in 2022. I think Russia actually made money that year. But the price of oil and sanctions in 2023 and 2024, Russia's energy giants no longer operate at a profit. Every day that Gazprom and Rosneft continue to do business, all they do is lose money. They're operating at a loss currently. They can't help fund Putin's war machine. So yeah, let's bring it on. Let's see if we can trigger this financial collapse by next summer and win this war. This is kind of big news. Meta bans Russia state media outlets for interference. The ban comes after the United States accused RT and employees of the state-run outlet of funneling $10 million through shell entities to covertly fund influence campaigns on social media channels. What? RT News wasn't already banned on Meta platforms? I don't spend a lot of time on Facebook, so I didn't even notice, but this is insane. YouTube and Google blocked RT instantly when Russia invaded. And Meta, WhatsApp and Facebook, Instagram are all blocked inside of Russia. So I don't know what took Mark Zuckerberg so long to do this, but thank you. At least RT News' official channels were all silenced 2 months before our election, but this is pretty ridiculous. And to illustrate how absurd this all is, they're laughing at us. On Kremlin State TV, the Russians are laughing at how easy it is to manipulate the right-wing influencers of America. So they've already taken credit for it. Here's Margarita Simonyan, the editor-in-chief of RT News. And normally I read these clips from Russia Media Monitor, but you need to listen to this. You need to experience this clip because they're just laughing at us. It's so easy for them.
Что одна хрупкая, красивая, талантливая.
So backstory, what's happening here, Solovyov is flattering Margarita Simonyan, saying how she's incredible, she does so much, she's so successful. Look at all her covert operations to corrupt right-wing influencers in America to attack Ukraine, support Russia, and support Trump.
Девочка из России, которая выросла и стала прекрасной мамой и великим медиа-менеджером, уничтожила полностью USA, CIA, Уничтожила полностью CNN, CNBC, Fox News, Deutsche Welle, вот всю натовскую машину пропаганды с многомиллиардными бюджетами, а если посчитать общий, я даже боюсь назвать эту цифру, уничтожила за несравнимо меньшие деньги, при том еще, где каждая копейка подотчетна.
Это правда.
So corporate media spending billions of dollars to report facts about Russia has been destroyed by RT News covert operations funneling millions of dollars to right-wing influencers to get people in the West to hate Ukraine, have sympathy for Russia. They're laughing at us, guys.
Скромная, тихая, высокопрофессиональная русская женщина армянского происхождения. И она...
Yeah. Let's now get to the top story from this weekend. And unfortunately, there was another assassination attempt of former President Trump. On Sunday, Trump was golfing at one of his golf courses when a crazy guy with an AK-47 was hiding in the bushes for 12 hours, waiting for Trump to approach him on the golf course. Now, thankfully, a member of the Secret Service was walking one hole ahead of Trump, saw the gun sticking through the chain link fence, instantly opened fire, and scared away the shooter. The shooter never had a line of sight of former President Trump. He never got a shot off. But still, this was too close. I just want to say unequivocally, I condemn all forms of political violence. If Trump were to be harmed or killed prior to the November election, this would be incredibly damaging for our democracy. This would be really bad for America. Nobody should be engaging in acts of political violence towards any political candidates. Political violence has no place anywhere in the world. This is the statement from President Zelensky in response. I'm glad to hear that Donald Trump is safe and unharmed. My best wishes to him and his family. Here's the statement from Vice President Harris. I have been briefed on reports of gunshots fired near the former President Trump and his property in Florida, and I am glad he is safe. Violence has no place in America. Here's the statement from Governor Walz. Gwen and I are glad to hear that Donald Trump is safe. Violence has no place in our country. It's not who we are as a nation. So the connection that the media instantly made and the connection that the Kremlin wants you to make and repeat is that this guy, Ryan Routh, was radicalized by Ukraine and wanted to kill President Trump because of Trump's position on Russia and Ukraine. Given that I'm a pro-Ukraine YouTube channel, I'm already getting comments and messages saying this assassination attempt is partly my fault. I helped radicalize this person, who then wanted to kill President Trump. So we need to dispel this connection. I don't think Ryan Routh's motivation had anything to do with Ukraine. So let's go through the links. And Ryan Routh did go to Ukraine in February of 2022. This was the top news story in the world, Russia's full-scale invasion. Everyone was paying attention. And for crazy and delusional people, they can romanticize war. They can want to get involved. War tourism is a real thing that Ukraine has to manage and deal with. If you want to experience the war firsthand on the Russian side, that's just not possible. But if you want to go to Ukraine and experience the war on the Ukrainian side, it's a lot easier for international people to get into the country, and that's exactly what this guy did. Delusional ideas. Ukrainian military officials described communications with the Trump assassin suspect as being absurd. Despite Routh's expressions of support for Ukraine, multiple Ukrainian military units, including the 12th National Guard Azov Brigade and the International Foreign Legion, have issued statements denying any connection with Ryan Routh. Officials described his attempts to contact them as unrealistic and delusional. So his Twitter account was deleted, but prior to Elon Musk deleting it, people were taking as many screenshots as they could. And you can see this is February 21st of 2022. And Ryan Routh immediately started spamming all over social media that he wanted to go to Ukraine to fight and die for Ukraine. And he just needed $2,500. If people were just willing to give him $2,500, he was willing to go join the Foreign Legion. So in the beginning, he might have been scamming people for money, but he did go to Ukraine. He did apply to join the Foreign Legion, and he was rejected. One, he's too old, 58. Two, he has no military background or experience. The Foreign Legion would rather you have some military experience. And three, he's obviously crazy. If you just see pictures and videos of the guy, he doesn't look or sound like a normal, healthy human being. So in 2022, he was just roaming around the capital city of Kyiv, talking to anyone that would talk to him in English. He went to rallies, he made public appearances, and he even did interviews because he was pretending like he was some kind of authority in support of Ukraine. So he did an interview with Newsweek in 2022, and I can instantly prove to you this guy's crazy, and he lied about everything.
But we've got so many units available to us: Georgian, Crimean, Ukrainian, territorial defense, Foreign Legion. We have, so many paramilitary groups. I put a 74-year-old Japanese guy in a unit.
So after being rejected by the Foreign Legion, he then started pretending to be a recruiter for the Foreign Legion. Ukraine would love all the help they can get. If this guy actually was capable of communicating and convincing people to come to Ukraine who had military experience, they would take it. But this guy just made stuff up. He just said that he helped recruit a 74-year-old Japanese man into the Foreign Legion. They rejected him for being too old at 58. There's no way in hell they would accept a 74-year-old Japanese man. And this specific detail of a 74-year-old Japanese man, is he talking about Fumi from Kharkiv? The Fumi Cafe guy? How many 74-year-old Japanese men are there in Ukraine? I only know of this guy. So did this guy, Ryan Routh, meet up with Fumi at a rally, say, hey, do you want to join the Foreign Legion? This guy only speaks Japanese, and he just said, you're in. These are the actions and behaviors of an insane person. I think he's talking about Fumi from Kharkiv. But you can also just look at his tweets that we screenshotted. He said that he wanted to kill Putin in his bed at night, and he had a plan to buy MiG jets from Poland and then fly them himself at night to go bomb the Kremlin. I am flying to Poland to buy the planes and then to Ukraine to fight. This guy also had an extensive criminal record, mostly misdemeanors, but he does have a Class F felony conviction in 2002. I actually think this is another reason why he would have been disqualified from joining the Foreign Legion. He's a convicted felon. So after he was rejected by the Foreign Legion and was pretending to be a recruiter, actual Ukrainian military recruiters started confronting him, telling him, stop saying you represent us, you don't represent us, you're not part of our organizations. And eventually, he was asked to leave the country. He stayed for maybe 4 or 5 months, but eventually moved back to his home in Hawaii, and he grew increasingly bitter about his time in Ukraine because he was rejected. And he published an ebook on Amazon, Ukraine's Unwinnable War, The Fatal Flaw of Democracy, World Abandonment and the Global Citizen Taiwan, Afghanistan, North Korea, and the End of Humanity. The Kindle price for me to buy this today is $2.99, and I haven't done it. Because what would I learn from spending $3 to look at his ebook? The guy's insane. But where I'm going with this is that his opinions in support of Ukraine were much stronger 2 years ago. This isn't what he was talking about and thinking about in recent time, during the election here in 2024. So in 2016, he was a Trump supporter, and then by 2020, he, for some reason, no longer supported Trump and declared himself in 2020 to be a Bernie Sanders supporter. And this is really important because he uses Trump's language when criticizing Joe Biden. He calls Joe Biden Sleepy Joe, as Sleepy Joe stands for nothing, no plans, no ideas, just as limp as Hillary Clinton. This guy is not a Democrat. He's not a liberal. He's a Republican who just hates Trump. So by 2024, he was very active on social media in the primaries, being a never-Trumper, and he supported Vivek Ramaswamy in the primary. Now, Vivek Ramaswamy is the most anti-Ukraine, Russia-friendly candidate that ran in the primary. Vivek Ramaswamy has a harder position on Ukraine than even Donald Trump does. So the fact that he would support Vivek Ramaswamy for president doesn't mean that Ukraine is his number one issue that he cares about in stopping Donald Trump from being reelected. Once Vivek Ramaswamy dropped out, he then started supporting Nikki Haley, asking Nikki Haley to pick Vivek Ramaswamy as her VP to defeat Donald Trump. So this is where we get to the discussion on political rhetoric. We have Marjorie Trader Green chiming in, everyone's favorite Russian agent in Congress. Democrats and their partners in the mainstream media are responsible for the attempts to murder President Trump. Their rhetoric has not been unclear. They have placed a target on President Trump's back, and many have outright called for his execution. Democrats must denounce these attacks and their statements of aggression. So I don't know any elected Democrats calling for Trump's execution. That's a lie. But as far as rhetoric, that's me, guys. I have said that Trump is a dictator wannabe, Trump is a threat to democracy, and I'm using this language to motivate people to vote against Trump in November, not to kill him. But the argument being, there are crazy people in America, Jake, and what if they listen to you and on their own decide they have to kill Trump because he's a threat to democracy? Well, first of all, I'm being factual. Donald Trump, in 2022, called for the termination of the Constitution. He promoted the big lie that the 2020 election was stolen. He only recently, last month, on the Lex Fridman podcast, finally conceded the 2020 election, admitting that he lost, admitting the entire Stop the Steal movement was a complete lie. But in 2022, he said, a massive fraud of this type and magnitude allows for the termination of all rules, regulations, and articles, even those found in the Constitution, in order to remove Joe Biden and make him president again. If you call for suspending the Constitution, that's a dictatorship. We're no longer a nation governed by laws. There's also January 6th. For the first time in 160 years, we did not have a peaceful transfer of power. People died on January 6th. And they constructed a gallows. The reason why Donald Trump's vice president, Mike Pence, is not supporting him and not on the ticket is because Trump tried to have him killed. They constructed a gallows, and Trump supporters were chanting "Hang Mike Pence" as they assaulted police officers and destroyed our nation's capital. I'm completely justified in everything I say about Trump. But if you don't like my rhetoric, then where's your condemnation of Trump? This tweet on Truth Social is from June 27, 2024. Joe Biden is a threat to democracy and a threat to the survival and existence of our country itself. So why is it dangerous for people on the left, or me, to say that Trump is a threat to democracy, but Donald Trump can say the exact same thing? Aren't there crazy people in America who will see this tweet from Donald Trump and then try to kill Kamala Harris, kill Joe Biden? And the right did not react well to this second assassination attempt. Elon Musk tweeted to his hundreds of millions of followers on Twitter, And no one is even trying to assassinate Biden or Kamala. Yes, I think this might motivate crazy people to attempt to assassinate the vice president. This is the only tweet I know of that Elon Musk has deleted, because the FBI and the Secret Service are now going to visit him. This was an incitement to violence from Elon Musk, the owner of Twitter. This is the tweet also went viral. This is the Libertarian Party of New Hampshire. They're supporting Trump. Anyone who murders Kamala Harris would be an American hero. So is Marjorie Taylor Greene going to condemn this tweet? They also had to delete it. Whoever wrote this is also going to be visited by the FBI and the Secret Service. And when it comes to political violence, members of Trump's family never had a problem with it when violence is committed against Democrats. When Paul Pelosi, the husband of Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi, was assaulted by a crazy guy with a hammer, the right and Donald Trump Jr., for example, made fun of it, joked about it. An 80-year-old man being beaten with a hammer by a crazy person, and Donald Trump Jr. thinks this is a joke. He thinks this is funny. They're still joking about it. So I know people who watch me, they've asked this question, Jake, it just can't be about Ukraine. Why do you hate Donald Trump so much? Why do you oppose him? It can't just be about Ukraine. And there's a multitude of issues, January 6th being one. But Trump's language itself is what's turning up the temperature here in the United States. The reason why there's been assassination attempts, the reason why there will be more assassination attempts and violence is because of Donald Trump's language. He's the one driving it. Case in point, Donald Trump refers to immigrants as animals. And the Democrats asked him to stop doing that because that's an incitement of violence. It's the definition of dehumanizing someone, and he still does it. And here's Trump admitting that he's going to proudly continue calling immigrants animals.
The Democrats say, please don't call them animals. They're humans. I said, no, they're not humans. They're not humans. They're animals.
Immigrants are not humans. They're animals. Let's listen to it again.
The Democrats say, please don't call them animals. They're humans. I said, no, they're not humans. They're not humans. They're animals.
Donald Trump declared that immigrants are poisoning the blood of our country. Let me play for you this clip as well.
Country, when they do that, we got a lot of work to do. They're poisoning the blood of our country. That's what they've done. They poison mental institutions and prisons all over the world, not just in South America, not just at
Immigrants are poisoning the blood of our country. America is an immigrant nation. 90 million Americans are either immigrants themselves or the children of immigrants. I'm the child of an immigrant. My father, with my grandparents, were refugees after World War II, coming to the United States from the Netherlands. They couldn't speak the language, they had no money, they had no education, they had no skills, they had to start from nothing. Immigrants for 200 years have been coming to America, impoverished, with nothing, to achieve the American dream. To be anti-immigrant is to be anti-American. And we're not even talking about illegal immigrants. We're talking about legal immigrants. Trump hates all immigrants. And we need to talk about this incident in Springfield, Ohio. Trump and J.D. Vance the last 2 weeks being hyper-focused on Haitian immigrants eating cats and dogs. This is a completely made-up story. The woman who started it all with her Facebook post has gone to the media and apologized. It just exploded. Springfield woman claims she never meant to spark false rumors about Haitians. She has a mixed-race child. Her son is half black. And these Haitians here in Springfield, Ohio, are here legally. After the 2010 earthquake, they were given protected status, refugee status, here in the United States. And in 2017, Donald Trump renewed it. This was a big story. if Donald Trump wanted to deport all of these Haitian immigrants who came here after an earthquake, he could have done so, and he chose not to. He verified their legal status here in the United States. But Haitians are black, and my father is white. So is that the difference? If you come here legally with the wrong skin tone, those are the people that should be demonized. Those are the people that should be scrutinized. Those are the people that should be expelled from small-town America. Small-town American. This is tough, guys. This is honestly tough to have this conversation. Speaking about my own family. Speaking about the American experience of all immigrants. America is better than this. And fuck me, I have to play a clip of Ronald Reagan, a speech he gave in 1980, talking about the great American experience, how we've always, with open arms, welcomed immigrants from all corners of the world. Let me play for you this clip.
I have thought of something that's not a part of my speech and worried over whether I should do it. Can we doubt that only a divine providence placed this land, this island of freedom, here as a refuge for all those people in the world who yearn to breathe free? Jews and Christians enduring persecution behind the Iron Curtain, the boat people of Southeast Asia, of Cuba, and of Haiti, the victims of drought and famine in Africa, the freedom fighters in Afghanistan, and our own countrymen held in savage captivity.
This is Ronald Reagan declaring the United States an island of freedom, a refuge for peoples of the world. And he even named the country of Haiti. So if you're watching my video and you've ever identified as a Republican, you've ever identified as a conservative, what are you doing if you still support Donald Trump? So I condemn all forms of political violence. There's no reason to harm Trump because he's going to lose in November. I believe America is better than this, and they're going to reject hatred, reject demagoguery. "48 days, we're going to do it." Let's get to the good news for Ukraine. Italy set to send second SAM-PT anti-air system to Ukraine. Thank you so much to the people of Italy. Denmark to deliver a batch of F-16 aircraft to Ukraine before the end of 2024. Thank you so much to the people of Denmark. Ukrainian military receives 18 Bodana howitzers financed by Denmark. Thank you so much again, Denmark. Latvia to supply Ukraine with British-made CV-RT armored vehicles. Thank you so much to the people of Latvia. And final clip I have for you is of a friend of Ukrainian author Ilya Ponomarenko. And he lost his arm. He's a member of the Ukrainian military. And he wants to share with you his new mechanical arm.
Пане капітан,
сьогодні.
ти задоволений?
Да. Не підкидаю.
Так, що ми можемо? Лікоть можемо підняти? Можемо. Клас.
Можемо повернути, можемо відкрити, можемо закрити, можемо опустити.
І це, я бачу, ти без напрягу все робиш, да?
Так ні, ти то...
Давай рекламу БТЛ зробимо. І потім продамо БТЛ.
БТЛ? Подаріть нам... Що там?
Апаратик
Лазер?
какой-нибудь.
Удар на хвильову. Подаріть нам.
So this is what a prosthetic looks like in the year 2024. But just think how incredible these things are going to be in 10 or 20 years. Wow. That's all for this update video. Glory to Ukraine, glory to the heroes. If you found this video informative, Give me a thumbs up. Best way to support the channel. Comments and questions, let me know down below. I love hearing from you guys. Till the next video, keep defending the truth, keep defending democracy.